ladies and gentlemen, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the business of creating on creating Ripomatics, trailers, and other marketing materials. As you can see today, practical action steps you can take while staying home. You may be inside, but you can still be productive. And we've got experts today to tell you how. Topics will include practical advice on how to create our Ripos and Sizzles. What are these other marketing materials? Pitch decks, lookbooks, how, when, why we need to use all of them and why are they useful? And again, let's get practical. What can you do right darn tootin' now from your own home? Ladies and gentlemen, before we even jump into that, of course, a shout out to the Writers Guild. Dustin, take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Dustin. I'm with the Writers Guild Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that's located in Los Angeles, California in the Writers Guild America West building on 3rd and Fairfax. Well, typically we're there. We're obviously all sheltering at home right now. Throughout the year, we offer resources for aspiring and emerging screenwriters. Probably our premier location is our library, which has roughly 35,000 scripts of produced TV shows and movies that you can actually come and read on site when that library is open. So it's a great resource for people to read some of their favorite produced TV shows or movies. So you can learn kind of the craft of screenwriting on the page. Unfortunately, we're not a loaning library, and right now, because of everything going on in the world, we are closed. But you could always reach out for questions about the library at library@wgfoundation.org or at our website, wgfoundation.org. We also host a bunch of different virtual events. Typically, we do in-person events with WGA screenwriters and industry executives, but we're hosting most of our events on Zoom. Nowadays, you can learn more about our events at wgfoundation.org/events. And we also offer several community outreach programs. Probably our biggest one, which is actually starting up this month. We've got a new cohort for our Veterans Writing Program, which is a year-long writing program for military veterans who want to break into screenwriting. They are paired with a WGA mentor to craft a pitch throughout the course of a year. So again, you can learn more about the Writers Guild Foundation on our website or wgfoundation.org. And with that, I'm going to kick it back over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Dustin. Okay, so a quick about us, business of creating. As you can see, because I'm kind of sliding in between here, we've done 17 panels. This is our 18th. Our whole point is we started up because we wanted to know the practical information behind, what everybody does and how can we be our best versions of ourselves. So we are an ongoing interactive panel series and Q&A with seasoned entertainment executives. Purpose of the panels, to provide unique opportunities for creators across all platforms, so film, TV, digital, to gain useful information and apply practical action steps, both in creating and in selling top quality projects. So continuing that, you can see we do quite a different variety of topics, from financing to producing, developing, distribution, getting repped, influencing your project, creating trailers and other marketing materials happening right now. Let's jump on in, everybody. Today we are learning about creating Ripomatics, trailers, sizzles, and other marketing materials. Our fabulous panelists today, getting a shout out first to Josh Dragotta. Hey, Josh.
Hello.
Josh, yay. Yay, we are so happy to have you here. Josh, you guys, is one of the most amazing, generous, kind, and awesome AV editors in the world. As you can see, he's an award-winning AV editor over at Ignition, and good fortune for me that I get the pleasure of working with him. I can't recommend him enough. So Josh has been creating films for the past 25 years. He does features, shorts, music videos, industrial films, teasers, trailers, commercials, sizzles, and Ripomatics. Josh learned how to edit on a reel-to-reel and flatbed Steenbeck, and about 8 years ago switched to editing full-time. He is, as I said, now at Ignition, so you can't really do any better than that. He's cut on all sorts of systems, currently cuts in Avid and Premiere. Josh, our AV editor expert, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Jen. Good to be here.
Oh my God, thank you. Okay, next up, we have the amazing Nuria Botella. Everybody give it up for Nuria. Everybody, you can imagine the applause because we're all applauding individually, right? So Nuria, as you see, is the Director of Marketing and Publicity at Maxine Leonard PR. She and our next amazing guest are going to be able to break it down for us, both in practicality and what worked this past week at Virtual Con. So we are some of the luckiest people in the world to be able to sit in and learn from these experts. So Nuria is, as we said, Director of Marketing PR at Maxine Leonard. Recent projects include handling the film publicity campaign of Sundance's 2020 critically acclaimed sci-fi thriller Possessor, starring Andrea Riseborough and Chris Abbott. It'll be released in the US by Neon Films, and the upcoming documentary Fries, the movie, produced by Chrissy Teigen. Previously to that, and I'm using this as a segue here, Nuria was Director of Marketing and PR at Myriad Pictures, where she did awesome work, of course. That switches me over to Kalani Dreimanis. Kalani, woo-woo! Kalani did also work with Nuria at Myriad originally, and she is now the Director of International Sales over at Epic Picture Groups. So we are getting it left and right, all the most up-to-date information from marketing, PR, and editorial, you guys. So Kalani has done multiple films that have come out of TIFF, South by Southwest, and Sundance. She has a great eye for original stirring content in a variety of genres. Good for all of us content creators here today. She loves being a part of a team and the challenges that come with the ever-changing marketplace. So everybody give a huge warm welcome to all of our panelists. Please, Josh, Nuria, and Kalani, thank you for being with us today. Okay, everybody, let's jump right in. We only have an hour and we've got a lot to cover. From script to screen, what can I have prepared? So super quickly, just to make sure we're all on the right page, what are these things? What's a Ripomatics sizzle trailer? What's the difference? Take it away, Josh.
Well, typically the difference between these would be like a Ripomatic is you would refer to a Ripomatic as elements of different films, trailers, already created media to create a pseudo trailer to represent your project. You would source out all that information and create like essentially a fake movie trailer for your script or your treatment, something of that nature. A sizzle is a little bit different. A sizzle is mostly content. This isn't like gospel here, but a lot of times sizzles are created with content from the creator. And they can either have like talking heads, they can also have some found or some footage in them as well. So they're kind of a little bit of a hybrid, but a lot of the content comes from the creator. What was the other ones on there? Let me look and pull up my little thing here.
Yeah. And then just a regular trailer.
Yeah, and then the trailer is a trailer. A trailer is something that you've already shot, that you are putting out for the masses to put people in seats or in the couch with your remote with streaming nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of it. Does that make sense? And I'm certainly willing to go into it a little bit deeper if you'd like, but that's in a roundabout way. That's about there.
Yeah, and I think that gives us the good definition of all three of those, because then of course we're going to go into further depth shortly on how to create these. So then we also have, what is the definition for pitch deck and what's a lookbook, mood board. So I'm going more with, Nuria and Kalani on those, but obviously everybody chime in, please,
So for the pitch deck, it's basically the document that will support your script in a way that summarizes the most important information. So you have an introduction to the project, you have a description of the characters, so a log line, like the most important points that are going to help go and accompany your script and for people in development to understand what they are going to be looking at as a finished product. In terms of the lookbook, it's more visual. So it's more like the mode that you're going to, you're trying to create with the project. So pitch deck, more of an intro summary of the project, lookbook, more of the visual storytelling of what you are trying to convey. But Kalani can also.
I guess you could say the mood board is kind of like a like more of a still version of, say, not a sizzle reel, but like a Ripomatic, because that should give anyone who's looking at it an idea of your skills as a director, or even, I guess, director / writer. We use mood boards and like a hybrid mood board pitch deck a lot for sales for first-time filmmakers as kind of like an example of like, hey, check this out. This is what they're capable of visually creating and how they're capable of visually telling this story. If you don't have, say, prior footage to draw from, if this is a first-time filmmaker, you can also insert links to short films or previous commercial work, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of different ways to utilize both of those to help sell yourself and your film.
Excellent. And we'll be discussing, thank you everybody, and we'll be discussing it more throughout. But of course, one of the main questions we're already getting asked, Desiree is asking us, well, which is better for a screenwriter? Which one should we be focusing on? So again, we'll be discussing more as we go along, but I love that people are already going, okay, I got to choose what I want to focus on first. Where should I go? Thank you, you guys. I love this already. So active. No, most of us can't see what you're saying because that's what I've already, oh, well, never mind. I did send it to everybody. So, okay, we're cool. I'm trying to multitask everybody. I'm wanting to listen to you guys, but now I have to be watching the chat and the share screen and all this stuff. Oh my God, good thing I'm not the one making the Ripos and everything. Okay, we discussed this a little bit. Why should we make these? Why are they important? So as we've seen here, they show the tone and style of your script. So it's obviously a quick, one shot, get a quick idea. They show the rough budget range that you're looking at, show the potential cast and comparable films. As we know, you should usually be looking within the last 5 years, pick something that's successful, but of course be prepared if someone says, it's kind of like, this other film that lost a lot of money, how's it different? Have your answers ready. And this one, very important, it's a time saver. So often people will say, yeah, I have time to watch a 2-minute trailer, 2-minute Ripo. I don't have time to read a 110-page script. Let me see if it's worth it to read the script because your trailer is so good. Thank you, Josh. Do we have anything to add on this one?
I would say in that is like a really compelling synopsis. It sounds silly because you've written a script. Why would you write, a 1-page synopsis of it? But as Nuria can attest to, a lot of the times we get last minute requests for like really compelling synopses. And if you don't want an intern writing the synopsis of your film, write a really good like narrative style synopsis that isn't like coverage style, more of like, this is like an animated 1-page, you telling your story in a succinct, sellable way. And that's also really helpful. Not necessarily say to include in a pitch deck, but like as part of the overall package.
Yeah. And I'll add also that this is a visual medium. So when you're reading a script, there's so many ways to execute that script. And these materials help you show the way in which you are planning to execute it in a visual way. So it helps materialize it.
Excellent. Okay, you guys, I hope everybody's taking pictures right now. The ins and outs of creating Ripos and Sizzles. So many basic questions because this can be an overwhelming process. I know personally where you go, how do I get started? Let me see some examples. So Josh, walk us through, please. How do I choose the cast? How do I find the clips? How long do they need to be? How long should the whole thing be? Tell me more.
Yeah, these are all of everything that you have in there is vital. From cast, I will say that the main 2 things when creating these Ripos or Sizzles are obviously story, that goes without saying, but the tone is so critical because that's the one thing that you really want to convey to whomever you're going to present it to. And when I say tone, it can be color palette. It can be emotional, exchanges between characters or bites. Camera movement. Is it, hyperkinetic? Is it a Michael Bay movie, which is very distinct looking? Does it look like that? Or is it like a Woody Allen movie? So there's a very, and Jen, you and I talk about this all the time. Tone is so key because it's going to be the thing that really resonates with the folks that watch your Ripo or your Sizzle. When we go through cast, I'll just start from the top here. When we go through cast, I always think it's a good idea to get on the same page from the beginning. I've done I've done some Ripos and Ripo Sizzles where clients won't know who it is, and they'll want to use multiple characters to represent a single character, and it gets very, very confusing. Yeah. So I think we've talked and narrowing that down, just getting in your own head and reach for who you want to capture that role, and then you start hunting, and you start looking for shots, and you start looking for bites, and it's a very tedious task. Whenever, not all the time, but a lot of times at this point now, I will often suggest for a lot of reasons, time being the one, for clients to start to look for things themselves. And then they can, send me things and then I can break down, or if they know specifically which particular clips or bites that they want, we can use those. Because you can spend a lot of time finding the right moments. And it's so important. I know and that's the editor in me, but the moment in which the clip that you choose is so vital. I mean, you only have a certain amount of frames a second, and you got to use them wisely. So how do you find them? DVDs and the internet. There's a lot of clips. I don't know that I want to get too specific into exactly how to do that, but I think if you own your DVDs and you're able to rip them, which you are able to rip your own DVDs, it's a great way to put them on your computer and then find the bites that you like. Clips themselves can range in time. They could be a few seconds, or if it needs to breathe and it's a moment that feels right between, say it's two people on a beach and it feels really good, you let it sort of resonate and hold. So I wouldn't constrain myself to clip size.
Mm-hmm. Although when I was asking you about it, it was mainly to say, what's the minimum length? Because sometimes you're like, oh my God, this is a great expression, but it's only 1.5 seconds. Can we use it?
I say give it to me. Because there's a lot of times now, Jen, where I can stretch things, I can slow things down, I can milk stuff. And if it's right, it's right, Mm-hmm. Give me the clips. Give me as much as I can get.
Okay. Better to give you too much and then have a choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want my bins full of clips.
Yeah.
That makes me very happy.
There you go.
Ripo sizes and sizzle sizes, this is the age-old sort of argument for everything. It's like, where are we at? 2 minutes now? Mm-hmm. Is 3 minutes too long? In that range, 2.5 to 3 minutes. But most importantly, get your point across, because you've only got a few minutes to really get your point across. Mm-hmm. And as we were talking before, it's like, I always think like, a lot of times people don't have a lot of time to watch things, and they have to watch a lot of things. So get in there, find the moment, and really make it. What's the word I'm looking for? Make it count. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that kind of gives you an idea.
Absolutely. So, it should be the length of a regular trailer. It should look and sound as best you can like a regular trailer, and kind of common sense that way. So, Nuria, Kalani, do we have anything to add to that? Or, I mean, like Josh doesn't know what he's talking about?
No. I would say I
perfectly.
Right?
I agree on the length. We've definitely, this is getting more into trailers, but sometimes we get trailers from filmmakers that are like 3 minutes long. And I mean, obviously this is different in terms of where you're pitching, but if I'm pitching to a distributor, 2 minutes max. It's like they only have a certain time span, and they're seeing, you know, upwards of 100 trailers throughout the week. So your impact has to be very strong and in a very short amount of time to keep their attention. So it totally depends on what you're creating it for. But if you are creating it for a sales market and you're creating it for distributors to see, I would keep it on the shorter side for sure.
Mm-hmm. Get in, get out as quickly as you can.
If there's one thing I could add to that too, because I just reached out to someone a week ago, some director, and I sent her a little message via Instagram and said, hey, I see you're coming along really well with your film. If you're looking for a sizzle, a Ripo, a sales trailer, a trailer, you know, let me know, because we hadn't worked in that capacity. I've shot music videos that she was in and stuff like that, but we hadn't worked creatively like that. So I really wanted to do that. And she told me that her production company was cutting their sizzle and doing their marketing. And while I think that's people do that, I think if you really want to get into a marketing show it from a marketing point of view, you've got to find an agency that cuts that stuff regularly. And you want to find an editor that cuts that stuff regularly, because it's a different eye, it's a different style. I mean, it's sound design, it's shot choice, it's timing, it's tone, it's everything. And it's what we do every day. I mean, at Ignition, that's what we do. So it's like,
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
In fact, it's even like sometimes the director of the project, they sometimes want to cut it, and it's like such a different skill set. And it's the worst person that can actually cut a sizzle or, you know, like any kind of marketing materials, because it's so specific of editors like Josh. You know, that's what they do, and it's a different purpose than editing a film. You know, like you are trying to convey everything in a very short amount of time. It's like a very different type of project, cutting a film. So it has to be really someone that is specialized in doing that.
yeah.
Excellent. And that's one of the things we talk about later in the practicalities of what can you do now. Okay, make sure your editor is somebody who does this all day long, and so that they can do it in their sleep. Hopefully not literally, but there you have it. You know, Josh, do we want to tell people the good news now that you're able to answer questions for them if you want later?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That is a surprise for the end. You know. Okay, y'all, look how wonderful we are. Look at this creative. Oops, except I can't spell. Can't spell. JOSHUADRAGOTTA.com. Creative@joshua.com. You have the nicest man in the universe here, willing to answer your questions later on. You guys, please be kind.
Yeah, come over. I'm always happy to answer questions about this stuff. So yeah.
He's fabulous, y'all. I can't recommend him enough. I know I've said it multiple times. Okay, so we've talked about all these things here. Oh, can I use streaming services? Can I use stuff from Netflix and Amazon?
If there's a way to do it, I don't know how.
Okay, well, and there's the definitive answer, frankly. So if there's a clip of something on YouTube, yes, that can be used. But Netflix and Amazon, they're being fussy pants with us about it, and won't let us take their stuff. Darn it. Okay, so what kind of software do I need to start pulling these clips?
Those are good. That's.
The one that you suggested to me that's been excellent is PavTube Byte Copy. There's the address right there, pavtube.com. I know some people have liked Handbrake.fr, but I know that wasn't as universally useful as this one. Handbrake is free, y'all, so give it a try first. PavTube costs like, I don't know, $30 or something, so it nominal cost, write it off on your taxes. Okay, well now when I'm looking at this, good God, there's 6 million ways I can save these clips and upload them to you. What do I need, Josh? Take me through it.
Apple ProRes HQ 422 is always a good. It's a solid file. So I mean, if you can do that, do that. You're probably going to share these via
Google Drive or some
Fire
such.
Drive or something like that. So they're probably going to end up being H.264s, but whenever I can work with ProRes 422 HQs, I do it. So that's pretty pretty standard. And if you're finding bytes, and you know, you and I talked about this recently, get your MP3s or your WAV files, and you can do that on like, I think PavByte lets you choose if you want to save it as an MP3. It may even let you save it as a WAV. I know for sure. And
audio, yeah, we're doing the WAV file, yeah, which has been super great.
Yeah, that's it. I do that a lot just because it's lower size and it's quicker. So
Yeah, for your rough cut, you might as well get in, get out with something quick and easy. But then let's have the best looking thing for when Kalani is selling it and Nuria is promoting it.
Yes. And would you guys say when you the finals that you'll get from the agencies, do they range in like quality? Like, I mean, because some Ripos, I mean, I've seen some that are, you know, get a little blurry sometimes from the resolution. And how does that fly when you're showing?
I mean, anything that I'm showing, that we're showing in a meeting, like, I mean, virtual kin was a whole other story, but anything that we're showing live in a meeting is usually like, that's usually like HD, top quality, anything that you want on a, I mean, we show it on a big screen most of the time. Oftentimes it's on an iPad, but most of the time it's big screen. So yeah, it's got to look like it was supposed to be on that big screen.
I mean, I would say if it's not good, why are you going to show it, right? It has to sell, otherwise better nothing than something bad. So
yeah, cool. Yeah.
As with always, get the best. Yeah. Let me see. There were a couple of quick questions, everybody. Do we have samples to show you today? Alas, ladies and gentlemen, no, thank you for asking. Would that we did, but those are proprietary and Mama doesn't want to get sued. So no.
I mean, that's the tough thing with the Sizzles and the Ripos is, you know, you're using really good sound effects and using, you know, the Stones or Elton John. You're using good cues, you know, and good score, and you're using, you know, let's face it, other footage. So
you're ripping it from others.
You really can't show it. Yeah.
You're ripping them off. And the other question, which, you know, we're only going to touch on super briefly because I feel, you know, yes, somebody had the guts to ask, how much does it cost to do this kind of thing? It's not cheap, but the more you do yourself, the less work the editor has to do. You know, so the more you can do yourself in the beginning, find the clips, do your best to write a very clunky narration and have your editor help you figure it out, then it's going to cost less. So hopefully you're a good negotiator. But you get what you pay for, you know? I mean, I can't recommend that enough. I know I did my first trailer myself and nobody will ever see it.
And I would say look for great editors and like great agencies and then try to negotiate as opposed to trying to go for the cheapest one, you know, that is not going to do a great job. So I would always go for the good one because there's always room to negotiate it. I mean, Josh can say that's the case, but normally that's been the situation with me. Like people are always willing, you know, especially if they are interested in the project, to like work with you to make it happen.
And I don't know if this is the case for you, Josh, but with the guy that we use, we kind of like, he's really good, but we don't give him any notes. Basically, he cuts a trailer, he sends it to us, and it's kind of take it or leave it, and it's like a flat fee. So I imagine the back and forth is where it goes up, right? Because then you're suddenly managing a bunch of projects, managing a bunch of notes. You know, who knows how many times you're going to go back and forth with the filmmakers or the sales company, etc. So for our guy, we're basically like, he sends us something, we're happy with it, we know he did a good job. Like maybe there's like one or two small notes on like the font, but when it comes to like subbing shots and all this, like that, I would imagine, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when it starts going up in price.
Yeah. There's always a note process involved with us. And we get, I mean, it happens all the time. We'll get Sizzles or we'll get Ripos from other places that for one reason or another, they're not gelling with, you know, the client. And we got to go in there and I just did one recently where it was music. And you go in and you're tweaking and you get notes on that stuff too, but that's just sort of expected. But yeah, finding the right people it's really important. I mean, just you don't don't cheap out on that. It's not worth it. Because this is your vision. I mean, you want people to see what's in your head, whether it's a script or it's not a script. I mean, this is your chance to show it. So do it.
And you
Right.
really only get one chance to do it too.
Yeah.
No one's gonna look at your sizzle reel again.
Yeah. Yeah. And these sizzles are not, the Ripos are not easy. I mean, it's a definite talent to, like a skill set. And there's more and more, I've noticed more and more of these they're becoming more and more popular. It's almost like a boutique industry these days. It's so wild how popular they've gotten.
And if I can jump in on one thing, Josh, you and I met because you were at the time at a mob scene as a more junior editor. And so I was able to reach out to mob scene that way through a couple of our other contacts. And because of that, I met the best editor in the world. And, I practiced, I practiced my negotiating skills somewhat effectively on you. And, a partnership was born. So that's a great way to kind of find somebody who already knows what they're doing, yet is open to, expanding their portfolio or something. Find one of the more junior editors at one of the trailer houses.
Could work.
Yes. It was a magnificent time. Josh, one more quick question here. It says, how do you suggest creating current looking Ripo for projects that take place in the 1800s?
Oh.
Stumping the AV editor.
I go through some TV. I mean, I go on IMDb. I use keywords in Google, depending upon what the subject matter is. There's movies. I mean, is the question which ones in particular, or where do I find those kind of movies?
Yeah, I think it was just an overall question as far as, how do I make my movie? It's an historical film, but that doesn't mean I want to be pulling Gone with the Wind or something from, the 1930s. I need something current, yet shows the movie takes place in 1875 or what have you. Yeah,
I often think there's different tricks. It could be landscape shots that feature establishing buildings that set a tone that, let you know where you're at. It could be some wardrobe. It could be there's so many tricks. It could be two people, talking from the back and the wardrobe that they're wearing can represent an element of that. You don't even need to all the time use those movies to represent what's going on in the scene. You could punch in on things. You could cheat shots. There's ways to do it. And I've pulled stuff from Getty Images, Film Supply, National Geographic stuff is great. There's lots of reenactments. In this particular case, there's so many places to pull things. I challenge anyone to find, not be able to find something. You just have to think and find it and be a detective and really get on there and do it. Be a bit creative, because as per always, most of the prep work is going to fall on me and everybody else creating something. And then we have to bring as much of a finished product to you as we can, and then you work your magic. Okay, you guys, I'm flipping to the next card here. I love it. People keep asking questions where I'm like, no, seriously, then the next card, y'all. Okay, so we're looking at pitch decks now, and then we're going to be jumping on lookbooks and et cetera, and what works best in marketing. People are eager for all of our info. Okay, we talked a little bit about this, but let's jump in a little bit further. So what's included in a pitch deck? We've got the log line, the tone of the script. So some of these things are going to be similar to our Ripos and that Sizzles. What's your rough budget range, either from the top sheet or, if you don't have that yet, well, what were the comp films that worked? Your one-page synopsis, potential cast, comparable films, cultural relevance, is it newsworthy, etc. So can we talk in more details about what we want to include in the pitch deck and the importance and all that good stuff?
So pretty much, I think that's the outline of the most important information. As I said before, it's kind of like the summary. You don't want to make it too long. So I would say normally it's between 5 to 10 pages probably. You can include some visuals like you're going to include in the lookbook, but the lookbook is a purely visual one. The pitch deck sometimes also has like the lookbook, and it's like a combined document. For the most part, on the pitch deck, you want to show like what are you looking to develop? Like, is it a series or is it a film? You know, what's the type of project? Obviously, the title of the project, the budget range, the genre that you are, like the genre of the film that you are, or the show that you are trying to develop. Description of the characters. It's also important, for example, if it's based on a book, to kind of like mention a little bit like the origin of the story, you know, like where the book, like whether it was like a New York Times best-selling book, or you know, like any materials that were prior to the script and the project. Also, like if you have any filmmakers attached, if you have, you know, your director or you have a producer, you know, you can put like a little bit of a small bio about them. Obviously, like the comps, like similar films, also similar films and how they performed on the box office. So like to have, for the person that is going to analyze this document, right? Like to have an idea, okay, if this is your budget, but a similar film was made for half of the budget, like that doesn't add up. So like you need to be coherent with all these materials, and just like not make it overly wordy. It's supposed to be like really straightforward, and you have to get the idea of the project within like 5 pages.
And Nuria, aside, I'm dropping my cheat sheet notes here, but a side question then, how long do, you know, marketers, PR, salespeople, how long do they take to actually look at something like this? Is this a 2-minute, you know, breeze through the 10 pages? Because I want to emphasize, okay, we take so long to craft these things, we're expecting people to take hours to look at them and admire our own genius, you know, but realistically, how many are you looking through at a time? And, you know, so how much time do you really have to make an impression with all this stuff we've put together?
I would say in PR, we don't really look at them,
Mm-hmm.
because you're doing PR when, you know, either you are representing a company that is like developing the project, or you have the finished project and you are, you know, doing the PR for the festival or for the release. But in development, I would say it's not that much time that people have to look at this document, but it's supposed to be the document that is making it faster for the development people to understand your project without, again, reading the script, like the 150 pages.
Yeah, it's amazing how few people will read the actual script.
Yeah,
beforehand.
but I mean, probably like, you know, like I've looked at in like 2 minutes, just like read through the pages. If it's, you know, interesting and compelling, then you spend a little bit more time reading, but it's not like yours, you know, like a full day of reading at the document.
Yeah. Kalani, do you find it similar from a sales perspective then, since you would be using something like this probably more, you know, than obviously PR? Yeah,
so this is not something that we would probably pull out in a meeting, but something that we would send to someone afterwards. And I would say, and I would kind of just answered a question similar to this on the Q&A, just more materials that you have for something that's in pre-production or production as a first-time filmmaker, the better. So at this stage, if someone is from the buyer side actually requesting the materials to review afterwards, you do have a better shot of them actually like taking the time to read it, because they're actually more likely to consider it as a pre-buy at that time. From the development side, it's a little different. You kind of just have to like catch their eye immediately and hope they read the script after taking a quick look at your lookbook. But on the sales side, yeah, you have a bit better of a chance at this stage that someone's actually going to sit through and like actively consider it as a project. And they more than likely will read the script at the same time too, because we first of all got them to agree to accept the materials, and we'll be harassing them for weeks on end afterwards to see if they have looked at them.
You know,
So,
I love that you so offhandedly said that. We'll harass them for the next weeks, plural.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, as soon as this ends, you know, we're gonna hop on this and finish reading everything tonight, and they'll get back to us at, you know, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, right? Ooh,
No,
yes,
yeah,
please.
I'll be harassing you until you actually give me an answer on whether or not you want to buy it.
Nice, but I love that you're like, hey, it could be weeks, settle down, everybody.
Yes, it
That's
could
how
be
long it takes. Yeah.
Could be months.
And I'll just say, like, we don't share in PR. We do look at them if they exist to get an idea of the project and how we are going to speak about the project. But because it's not a finished material, we are not sharing that with, press or anything. So that's what I meant, I guess, with them.
Yeah, all of this is for us too, all of this is B2B. It's not going to be anywhere on the internet. It's strictly, which is, I guess, if in reference to that Netflix Amazon question, if you could find a way to rip stuff off Netflix Amazon, it is okay, because it is just B2B. This isn't something that you're using to make money off your film. You're just using it to gather business, right? So it's technically, as long as you're not like out there putting it like out there publicly, then it is fine. Or at least that's how we operate.
Yeah, with a bit of a wink and a nudge. Josh, you are a very popular man. We've got another question for you. How would you handle dialogue?
Dialogue. Well, if you're ripping DVDs, if you can find a 5:1 Blu-ray, your center channel is going to be great. Usually, it's like a pretty clean channel for dialogue, because most of it goes through the center channel. So I always suggest, if you can score 5.1 DVDs to rip, that's the best way. It's like working with like splits, and like for a film. So.
Okay, and also I think part of it was more from the question of, well, how can I find somebody saying something in the script? Or is that just, hey, well done, you pulled up every darn tootin' Risafon clip that you could find, and you finally found something that's going to work with your script.
Well, there's two ways of doing this. It's hunting, and there's frankenbiting, and a good editor can frankenbite stuff. So
okay, so we know who we're talking to.
Do that a lot. And for those that don't know what frankenbiting is, it's essentially piecing together bits of dialogue from the same character to make it sound like that character's saying something that character isn't. Do it in documentaries and reality TV all the time, and trailers and movies.
Okay, there we go. Let me see. I'm trying to multitask, everybody. It's wrong. I just want to keep listening to you guys. Okay, we've talked about pretty much everything on here, I believe, for ins and outs of pitch decks, jumping on to ins and outs of lookbooks and mood boards. Again, since it's kind of free-flowing discussion, we've already talked about some of it. How are lookbooks different from pitch decks? And then what's included in the lookbook? Where do I find all the material for this? Take it away.
You can use the stock images online. It's kind of like the same process as the Sizzle, but with graphics and like images that you can take online. Again, you're not using these for the public, so you can use any materials that you find for B2B. And then I would say, like, for example, you can include, if the project is like an animation project, you can include like some of the sketches that you make of the project. So like any visual material that is going to help you, like convey the idea of what you're developing. But stock images online, you can find, like Google images and just like put them together. So it's any materials. You don't need, like, I've never, and I don't know if like this is something that everyone does, but I've never really paid for a stock image for the purpose of a lookbook. So, yeah.
I think too, just how Josh was saying about hiring a trailer editor specifically to cut your Ripomatics and trailers, you can also hire people to put together mood boards and lookbooks. And directors do this all the time for commercials. There are people that they hire to put together like their pitch for a commercial. So it's the same thing in creating a mood board or a lookbook. You can hire someone who you can collaborate on and is experienced in gathering these images. I have one friend of mine who does commercial production pitches for commercial directors, and like the stuff that he puts together, I'm like, where did you find these images? And people kind of like with trailer editing, they just, with their experience, they know where to find these images and know how to put them together in a way that really showcases your vision. So if you are struggling with that, even consider hiring maybe someone to help you with it.
And Kalani, to clarify, would that be kind of a similar process where you would want to go to one of the, the creative agencies and maybe ask one of the more junior editors again, if they would be able to jump in?
Totally. I would say that for sure. And there are, I mean, even some of the companies that create posters, they also create lookbooks. So it would be kind of the same creative suite.
Yeah, because that would be a nice place to at least have a jumping off point, because otherwise you're going, well, let me just go on LinkedIn and see who's where, editor, and suddenly they're a book editor or something, which would be awesome if you had a book. But yeah, how do I get the right fit for the right job? So congratulations, everybody. You're now part of HR for your own company. Yeah. Lucky you. I love how many questions people have. Josh, do you use text in Ripos, not over the footage, but graphics?
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Cards, yeah. Graphics are our graphics team is awesome. So we're always coming up with really cool looks for those graphics, and that makes a difference. I mean, it really does. Having a good graphics package to accent what's happening in your Sizzle or your Ripo. And just like trailers, I mean, it elevates, But you don't always need cards, but when you use them, they look. We actually did some with the one piece with yours, Jen. Actually, I think I found. But,
yeah, you're awesome with that.
It helps. I mean, if you're looking for cards, it can add value for sure. If they look good, you don't want to you don't want to make them look cheap. You want to find somebody that's talented.
Buy cheap, buy twice. My favorite saying. Josh, another one for you, Mr. Popular. So what are it's the Josh show. So he's got like text graphics coming out of his head. Another question for me. So what are some of the do's and don'ts? Nancy is asking us do's and don'ts in providing feedback / revisions to editors for best results.
I always say the first cut's my cut. After that cut, I'm getting paid to do what I love to do. The best thing about editing for me personally is working with people. I'd never have an issue with that. I mean, sure, there's notes that come back that you don't agree with, but if there's things in the notes that you feel strongly about, I think it's worth a discussion. And sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong, and many times there's a middle ground, and the main objective is to make the piece better. That's what it's, to me, that's what it's all about. So I'm fine with notes. I always expect it because I'm not in the person's head. I don't know exactly what they want, and a lot of times what will happen with Ripomatics or Sizzles, when you'll get it from the client, if the client is the writer or the director, a lot of times they'll know A, B, C beats in it. They won't know D, E, and F, but then they'll be able to pick it up from there. So as an editor, you kind of help them tell their story visually. So, in short, I welcome notes, and I always welcome, working with people, collaborating on an end vision.
And another one, do editors appreciate if we start with a full script or an outline as a starting guide for the Ripo or Sizzle reel?
I mean, it's if when I get a script, it's awesome because it lets me get into the whole story. It lets me absorb the characters. It tells me pretty much everything I need to know about that story, which is great. It doesn't always happen that way. I'll get a treatment, and that's fine too. I mean, the more information you can give me, the better, and the quicker we're going to get to a place where we're both seeing your vision. Getting mood boards, getting all this stuff. I love getting all that information. I love seeing as much that's going on in your head as the creative, because it's only going to make the piece better. And I'm only going to get closer to what your vision is.
Mm-hmm. And so then Nuria and Kalani, so that was your snack break.
I was answering questions.
Oh, see, I know, I'm trying to like look at everything and then look at the, it's awesome, but I'm just like, oh, crazy. But so then, we've been talking more about, the sales materials and PR materials. Do you tend to use the Ripomatics as well then a lot in, the pitching and selling and developing?
So
just to tie that all back together.
Yeah, on our side, just with the level of projects that we're working with at Epic, we don't pre-sell a lot, and so we don't use a lot of Ripomatics. Nuria maybe can speak. I don't know if you had any, maybe you had any clients in the CAA agency presentations. Those are more high-level packages that may more like maybe using Ripomatics and like sizzle reels more. But if like on my side, I'm not usually using it. We're dealing more in finished product, or we're selling with other elements. But I would think with like higher level casts and like bigger packages where you have more potential to pre-sell, that they would be more usable. I don't know, Nuria, did you?
Yeah, we just had like one project from one client that actually had, I wouldn't say it was a sizzle reel. It was like something actually like super useful, because now everyone is home. The project was cast already. So they decided to interview the cast and the director. So, it was like for the electronic press kit, like material that you can actually create right now. So it was interview to the cast, like to the director. They were explaining how they envisioned the film. And it was like, like just like a recording like we are doing right now, like via Zoom, but it was like, great level of cast. So as Kalani said, it only works at the moment because most people are just interested in completed finished films. It just works if you have really like top level cast. But I did see this one project that I'm talking about, and they created like this, like, like beautiful 2-minute presentation with the cast talking about the project, and they showed some of the sketches of how they envisioned the project. So it was like really, and again, it was like a great editor that, created this. It wasn't just anyone. And it was like, yeah, but it was like super useful for a project that is, just a script at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I love it, because one thing that we've been hearing from all the different panels, whether it's development, whether it's financing, whether now we're looking at creating the materials, one thing that seems to be quite common from everybody is they're saying, hey, the more visual elements you can have that we can go in and out, the more prepared, the better it's going to be, the easier it's going to be to get somebody to say yes.
Yeah. And I mean, now because we are at home most of the time, I would say people have more time to invest in this type of, even like an interview with one of these members of the cast would be impossible in any normal circumstance. And because now people are home, they have the time to be, okay, 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about the project. So there's like more possibilities right now in that sense.
The silver lining of must save. Yeah. A quick question for you to answer, and then I want to jump on for everybody to answer. People are asking here, what format are we saving pitch decks and lookbooks and everything in? Is it always PDF? Is there something better?
Yeah, it's normally PDF. I mean, yeah, pretty much always.
Yeah, I just typed to someone that it has to be easy to email. Like I can't get this alert saying that, oh, too large for your email, or like the receiving email won't accept it. That's like any block, like any extra step that someone has to do to view your material is a chance that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to say, no, you're already difficult to deal with.
Exactly. So just the easier you can make it, the better. Small files without losing resolution.
Yeah.
Email. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. But there we've clarified that. Okay. I'm sharing my screen again, going to the next one. We've discussed that ins and outs of production notes. Okay. PR. Let's talk about it. So we've got a couple of points here that Nuria was so kind to make sure we included. So the production notes are going to be the most important material for publicity. Hello, start working on it now before you get in production. The outline is going to include the credits. Here, Nuria, you take it away. I'm reading what you've told me.
Yeah. So the production notes, you can start working on them right now, like when you have just script. Obviously, for PR, you are going to use them once they are final because there's always changes, you know, like during shooting or like things you want to add. But it's something that is very useful to start creating from the beginning, like from even before you go into production. And it's the most important document once the film is completed, actively doing PR for the film for us to use. It's like the Bible for the project. Okay. So you use that when you are pitching the film to any journalist, any critic. That's like the most important document, other than obviously the film.
Even then, who knows? You gotta pitch people so that they come and see it.
But so like the production notes are actually a longer document. So that can be even 40 pages long. That normally it starts with the credits, the most important credits. You then have an intro to the film, like a synopsis. You have the director's statement, which you can start working now if you have a project that, you know, it's already, like a director is already attached. So the director can speak of what attracted them to the project, why they are interested in telling the story. Same with the producer. So if your producers are already attached, they can speak to why that film is important for them and, you know, why they decided to, you know, cast some of the cast you have already attached. There's also sometimes like quotes on why, you know, like speaking about the different characters, which normally maybe you will wait for the shooting so the director can speak to the results of each of the characters and like during the shooting, and, you know, like speak about the cast and how they basically like the job that they did during shooting. You can start already with director's statement, the bios, for example, compiling bios. So that's also a very important part of the production notes. So I would say log line, synopsis, director's and producer's statement, and then the bios. So you can start compiling that because, for example, for the bios, like normally you want to get like official bios for your cast, and it takes a while, you know, to go to the managers, ask for the official bio, and like the more you can get done in advance, like the easier for you to have that document ready. Like normally the document should be ready when you're like at the last stages of editing, because you can submit to the festivals already, even if the project is not like completely final, but you can submit your work in progress, and that will help like very much for PR. It's like super important.
Mm-hmm. Josh, I was just thinking, because I know I've seen some sizzle reels that use some of these interviews with the cast and with the director, and that seemed to be a very effective selling tool in addition to having it in your production, you know, book.
Yeah, we've done them where they're either maybe they're EPK footage that they've got, or they're special shoots, and you know, using concept art, being creative with concept art in After Effects, and creating some, you know, some animation to really spice them up is a great way to do that. I've done those a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
crossover. Sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes within the production notes, you actually include a link to the EPK and like the interviews that you were doing with the cast, and, you know, like you can just put like that link, and that's part of the materials that the PR person is going to use. So definitely. It's
so great when you have that opportunity to get those folks talking, because, you know, especially the director, because they're very passionate about it, and sometimes it's in mid-production, but other times they haven't even shot anything and they're just excited to just talk about it and get into it and shoot it. I did one where it was just the director talking about his projects, the story. He broke the story down, and I used that as the trailer essentially. We used Ripo. It was all footage. Like you would think it was his movie. It came out really, really nice.
Cool. Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to, look at the.
And I would say it's easier to get that done before the project or during, because once you're done with the project, you don't get the cast to come back and do an interview for you. So
Yeah.
Amen to that.
And I love how you can do that now. Basically, you're like, okay, we're going to do a Zoom interview. It's going to look like a Zoom interview, but guess what? We can do that right now. Let's do it. We got something effective that's happening now, even before we've shot. Because a lot of times people think, especially for something like when people are talking about it, that, oh, it's got to be already finished. No, it doesn't. Be creative in when you're shooting it. And shoot it while you have the chance. You might not use it, but hey, you got it. Yeah. Okay, everybody, what was effective this last week at Virtual Con? Tell me more. You can see it's blank. I gotta know.
Maybe no one knows yet. We don't know.
Okay, next panel then in a couple weeks, right?
I mean, definitely it was like a learning curve for everyone. And like I mentioned before, I wasn't as involved in the agency presentation side, and that side definitely had more of the, I would say, like presentation reels with cast presentations and directors giving, their pitch on the film, and even sales agents coming in and doing like a video presentation. So on that side, I'm not as well versed. Nuria has a bit of experience, a bit more experience with that. But for us, the most effective pitching tools that we have were still, as they always have been, was like a compelling trailer and a compelling piece of key art and some really good stills for the films that we had in pre-production, or in post-production rather. Basically when you're pitching, even during this virtual can, you basically have to like spell out in a hand on a platter the marketing strategy for the international distributors. So the most commercial you can make your project look via a trailer and a piece of key art, the better. Maybe it wasn't like in person and we weren't, showing it on a screen, but we used actually like a meeting platform that kind of worked. That kind of worked basically like a meeting room. Someone would join, you click play the trailer then takes up their whole screen, it plays. When it cuts out, it moves back to you. So I think the industry was able to really cleverly adapt in that way. And a couple of hiccups this time around, but hopefully there's a couple of markets this summer, and TIFF obviously coming up, and nobody knows about AFM, but I guess that one's TBD. For me, I don't know if it'll happen, but if it doesn't, it's good that we have all these tools already, or that we've tried these tools already, and can only improve them for the rest of the year, really.
Mm-hmm. So
can I ask you a question, Kalani? So I have a question in terms of like the key art, for example, like, when we go to the markets, you have like the printed key art for the projects, and, you go into the office, buyers go into the suite and they see all the posters. Like, how was it during the virtual marché? Because I didn't get to see like the sales room. So
so it was basically all your material in Sanando got translated to this like virtual sales suite on the Marché platform. And I guess buyers could go through and see your key art. So in that case, some of our B2B key art was online because it was in this, technically sales suite at the Marché, which is still B2B, but it is online, which we normally don't do because we wouldn't want that key art to get leaked. But yeah, it basically worked like a virtual sales suite. And again, we didn't use the Marché platform. We weren't actually sitting in that platform, but we received requests, like screening requests and meeting requests through the platform, and then basically just kind of like referred them to our platform and dealt with it separately, which from what I hear, it is better just because the Marché had so many hiccups. But who knows, by the time the next market comes around, maybe they'll have it and it'll work perfectly, and it'll be better that everyone meets on the same platform instead of all these different platforms. It's everyone's learning, I would say. Yeah.
You guys, I'm trying to go through the Q&As here at the same time. I'm multitasking, God help us. Josh, you're a very popular man. They're asking, you know, number one, can they hire you? And I'm going to tell them later, since we're mid-project. And, you know, people are asking, do you, not just you, but editors in general, or probably key art people, everybody that we want to hire, is it hourly? Is it flat fee? You know, what kind of price range are you looking at? And I don't want to be crass about it, but, you know, is it so high it would scare people? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Catherine, I'm looking at you. Seriously, and please answer this question. So, you know, don't let, I'm not going to be crass and say, let's get exact amounts, but yeah, fair enough. What's the kind of process like? As far as, you know, okay, I'm going to come at you and I'm going to give you $1.50, you know, and that's a flat rate. Do you do that? You're like,
No.
yeah, put the end credits on with your name on it. Yeah, I'll do that, but that's about it.
I mean, it depends on the job. It really does. It's tough for me to sit here and give an answer on that. Maybe, I don't know. Does anybody have any input on that? It just depends on the job. It depends on how much work is done, how much work is expected. This can be from mining footage, that.
Yeah, we know that takes a long time. Nuria, you and I had a great discussion over drinks way back when, where I'm like, oh my God, here's me pulling 20 Christian Bale movies, and the librarian's going, you know they're due Monday, right, girl? I have no life. I just watch movies. I'm a big fan of his.
That is good.
Oh my God. And now that's not, nobody's going to think you have no life whatsoever because everybody has to stay home. So of course you're watching all the DVDs and you've just chosen somebody you like. So now's the time. Everybody go to your library, get your DVDs in the to-go services. But so it sounds to me like, Josh, when people are negotiating with you and other people, it could be an hourly rate, it could be a flat rate, depends on how much leg work and sitting work and scanning work they're willing to do on their own before they bring stuff to you. Does that sound
I usually, I would say a lot, I get into hourly when we get into, revisions, versions. I'm pretty good about the first few versions, but once, if things can continue to go, and I lay this out in
of course,
that's when it can get a little bit more expensive. Because, if you're not familiar with the process, if it's the first thing you've ever done, you may not be aware of or you may get to a place or second guess yourself after you're, on your third version where you're feeling, we're feeling like things are in the right place. And then for whatever reason, you show it to the mailman and the mailman says, geez, that's, I didn't get that. And then now you're like, okay, well, maybe we need to re-examine this because I'm not getting this. So I in the past, what I've done is I've given a good rate, and that within that has versions. And it's usually like a V1 is to sort of be on the right page. It's a cut that I provide based off of conversations that, I've had with the clients. And then when I'm getting into the second cut, it's more or less just addressing the concerns that they may have in that first version. Your third version, is usually just nipping and tucking and maybe a couple of shot swaps. You're usually not messing with music and that sort of thing in your V3. It's like you're getting down in, within your second cut on that stuff. Yeah. But it just depends on what you're doing and how long it is and it's a case by case. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. So Chuck Fitzpatrick, don't be coy, LOL. Dude, figure yourself out. Start doing your negotiations on your own. That's me giving you the verbal slap down on that. We're not talking full cash right now. We're talking about how do you negotiate with professionals and how do you figure out what it is you need to bring to the table before you even talk to the professionals. So I love that people have questions and that they want the answers because that's the whole point. but sometimes, hey, a little finesse, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So Kalani and Nuria, have you found that to be similar, coming at it from more the lookbooks and, you know, presentation decks and key art? Have you found that's kind of a similar process where you're going in and you're just like, okay, it could be a flat rate, could be an hourly, depends how much you need, how long it's going to take, how much you want the person to hate you by the time it's over?
Totally. I mean, like Kalani said before, you know, you can also negotiate the number of revisions that you are that you're going to be given, and that will reduce the price. So if you have no revisions, like Kalani mentioned, for example, obviously that will reduce the price. And then like sometimes if you have like more than one project, you can also get like a package fee, you know, for like all of them. You're doing them with the same person, so obviously reduce the price for that. And then like if you get them excited about the project and you so one of the things that we put together in like teaser key art or like key art, it's the creative brief. So you basically have like the basic information and then similar key art that you liked or that you were looking to look similar to them, right? And so like if you put together that document and you know it's like an exciting project for the designer, like normally if you get them excited and again you negotiate that, you can get like a reduction of the price, and it can go, I can throw numbers, I mean like it's fine, like I can throw the numbers that with, I would say like we've done even like Kia for like 10K, which is super expensive and it's a lot, and you get like a very high quality gear that, you know, it's like you can use it as a final material. But like even for like 2,500, like you can do like a good quality gear. So it really depends. Like again, the range, I would say from 25 to 10. You decide how to negotiate and what you can offer to.
So that's good to understand a price range, but obviously that hurts. So, you know, to me, this would be a point where you would again go like, right, can I talk to your junior editor who has enough experience but can be more affordable for me, the indie content creator?
But also there's like designers that like for example, they are more interested in doing PR for genre films. So you maybe get better getting like a good price for one of those if your film is a genre film. That's someone that is interested in like comedy projects and, you know, they are not so attached to the idea of that project.
Yeah, I know when I've been talking with like DPs and, you know, other behind the scenes folks, they're excited a lot of times to do a different, like you said, different genre of project that they don't normally get to do. And so because of that, it's a more negotiable rate because they're excited to do something besides a run and gun or something else that they usually do, which I always find interesting, how many people are excellent at their jobs but want to pivot and do a different version of something, or it's their time to amp up their own portfolio with something different.
And I would say too, it just, when it comes to like all of these expenses, really, it depends on who your target audience is. Like, who are you pitching to? You don't need key art to pitch to a sales company because we're going to make that key art. Any key art that you make is likely not going to be usable for us. So don't go and spend $2,500 on making commercial key art that you like and that works for you, but I'll look at it and I'll say that's not going to work for me for sales. So you can focus more on, say, creating your pitch deck or your mood board and trying to pitch that way. Because when it comes to actual like sales materials, like a trailer, like an actual trailer and an actual piece of key art, that's an expense that the company can incur and you don't have to put on your shoulders before you even, you know, have a sales company on board. But on the other hand, if you are pitching yourself to distributors, or if you know someone in acquisitions at whatever distribution company and you're trying to get them to look at your finished film, then that is, you're ostensibly your own agent. So you do have to create those materials. So it depends on your audience. So don't rush out and make a poster right now.
Like no one is going to acquire the project because there is a great here.
Exactly.
But as with everything else,
the main.
Yeah, as you were just saying, it helps. So yeah, the more visuals you can come in with to get yourself in with the sales company or in with that representative or production company or what have you, well done you. But yeah, recognize that's the purpose of having these items available, is to get you in with those professionals who are going to end up shooting or selling or whatever your project.
Yeah. I would just say one exception to what you have to do if you're like a producer or you are like actually like doing the film and you don't have a sales agent yet, it's the unit photography. I always say this because it's so important. Like if you finish the film and you don't have any proper unit photography, it's the most like horrible thing that can happen to any sales agent. Because creating key art or any other marketing materials from screen grabs is not optimal. It doesn't look great. It's not good for delivery. So that's something you should budget and take care of. Like once the film is finished, you know, there's nothing for the sales agent to doing that, going back and taking unit photography. So that's really something that you have to always budget.
I love that you said that. That's my partner Michael's pet peeve. If you don't do the unit photography, he's going to come up and go, whoop. Okay, everybody, we're kind of getting down to the end of this, which makes me sad, but fair enough, it's been an hour. So, okay, PR and marketing, again, free-flowing discussion. We've kind of talked about these. So when and how do I use these materials? We've talked about it. Do we have anything to add? You know, you're going to be using it to basically get your team together, get other people excited about your project, and then get the professionals to finish selling the project for you. As we've said, so am I supposed to do this all on my own? You know, get that sort of, oh dear God, Salvador Dali look. When do you hire the professional? As we said, make sure it's a trailer editor.
Someone actually, Jennifer, sorry to interrupt. Someone was asking me on the Q&A, when should you hire a publicist? A PR
yeah.
So I would like to answer that.
Yeah, everybody jump on in and tell me more.
So I would say as a general rule, unless you are planning on like going to a festival and you want to create buzz, like, you know, in like either the premiere of the film or the festival, you won't hire a publicist before the film is completed. But if you are going through a sales agent, the sales agent is going to have their own PR teams, either, you know, an outsourced PR company or their own publicity people. And they are going to start doing announcements for the project. But normally those are basically when the sales agent comes on board and acquires a project to sell it. That's one of the announcements. Normally you do those around the market. So like for Cannes, we were doing a bunch of those, you know, like the sales agents acquiring projects to sell. And then towards the end of the market, you were also doing press releases about the sales that the project had. So like, for example, we sold X project in Japan, Germany, and Spain. So like also for other territories to know what's available and like to create like some kind of buzz about the project. And so that's something that PR does. But normally for the sales agent, if you don't have a sales agent and you are in development, I wouldn't say it's like not useful to hire a PR firm.
I think especially since there's no actual physical festivals happening right now, if you were unrepresented by a sales agent and you were in Cannes, for example, which is unlikely, let's say Sundance or South by, PR would be helpful in bringing in press and reviewing your film in order to create more buzz yourself and then, you know, get a sales agent that way. But that isn't proving as important now with the virtual festivals and the smaller virtual festivals. I would say probably wait until you have actual on the ground presence and audiences that can help feed those reviews, because that's super important.
Pulling back to my share screen now, everybody. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, so when do we hire the professional? So with Josh, when should we hire you and all your buddies?
You're muted.
Oh, how did Josh get muted?
How about, there we go, better?
Yeah, that's better.
If it's a sales trailer, it's after you've cut your movie, like it's done, and you wanna sell it. If it's a trailer, it's after it's been sold and you want to put people into the seats. If it's a Ripo or a Sizzle, it's an idea in your head, a script, or a treatment. So it depends on where you're at what phase. But you want to get an agency, an AV editor for that, because they're going to cut it the way that you're going to need it cut, and that is fast. We're called creative editors. That's what we do. We mix sound and we mix picture, and our goal is to market your idea.
Okay, and Josh, we had a couple questions on the side for you, which I think kind of come down to negotiation again. So how quick, you're like, dude, choose two.
Always money. Always money.
Good for these people for having these questions, because, you don't know to ask them until you've got somebody in front of you that really does this. And, people's hearts are pounding, not just because you're good looking, man, but because, they're going, oh my God, how do I do this? I don't understand. It's a foreign language. Dude, we've all been there. But so, how long should I expect to wait to get the first version of the trailer, of the Ripo? Good, fast, cheap, pick two?
Say again?
Oh, good, fast, and cheap, pick two?
Yeah, right. That's it. That's why I always say you only get two. Yeah,
Yeah. So, do you want it to be good and fast? Well, then it's going to cost you more. Do you want it to be good and cheap? Well, then it's going to take longer.
Yeah.
Do you want it fast and cheap? Then it's not going to look brilliant. It's going to look fast and cheap.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to make sure I address these things, because people are being open enough to ask these questions, which again, that's the whole point. Let's learn the process and understand, so we can walk in with knowledge and be empowered, so that people will want to work with us and recognize that we're freaking awesome. But yeah, so a lot of that again is negotiation. Well, how fast do you need it? Okay, then it's going to cost more, back and forth like that. And then what's the current favorite, most professional software used for trailers and sizzles, and what version?
Well, God, I'm staring at 3 monitors in front of me here. I like Premiere, but right now I'm cutting a trailer in Avid. I'm definitely a Premiere guy.
Okay.
And I know people will give me shit for that, but I like Premiere. It's more intuitive. I feel it's more intuitive in a nonlinear aspect. I learned on film, I learned how to cut on film. And I feel like Avid is rooted in that sort of philosophy. And I feel like Premiere takes that philosophy and similar to Final Cut Pro, they've made it more intuitive on how you move things and how you drag and drop, how you cut and paste, and how the timeline is a little bit more liberal in what it takes and interprets. Avid is very specific about things, and Premiere, I think, is multilingual when it comes to files and stuff. Plus, a lot of people, I think, and don't quote me on this 100%, but I think Premiere is a little bit more affordable. You can get a member, it's a cloud-based membership for it now. So a lot of people have it. So I think when you're getting stuff from people, if you're taking over a cut from someone, if the client's like, look, at this person cut this thing, I need you to come in and fix it. I mean, maybe you'd probably find it to be more Avid these days, I think. So I guess I'm more of a Premiere guy. I'm sorry, not Avid, Premiere. I'm more of a Premiere guy, but I'm learning to love Avid.
The reluctant editor of Avid. Okay, you guys, so how do we find these people? We talked about it. Either you already know somebody knows somebody, go to the trailer houses, go to the art agencies, see who's available from the junior section kind of thing. Let me see, we've only got a few minutes left, you guys. I want to spend the rest of the evening with you, obviously. So standard do's and don'ts. Okay, again, we either know these, we've kind of talked about them, hopefully a bit of both. Spend time to script out your sizzle, your Ripo or Sizzle before pulling the videos. So that way you got, a better idea of what you're looking for. Have other people, friends, colleagues, review the materials before you send them to Nuria and Kalani. So, because they're going to catch the ding dong mistakes that you didn't realize you spelled, there without an apostrophe or something. Hello, hire the trailer sizzle editor. Don't just ask your friend who happens to know how to use iMovie. We know this. Don't wait until you're in production to start working on your materials. Plan ahead and always budget for the unit photographer. So again, I'm zipping through these. We've talked about them. If you don't know them already, well, write them down again. You should know them. Do we have anything to add on that, or should I jump on to the next bit? I'm jumping on to the next bit. Okay, some specifics. What can we work on during quarantine? So start pulling those clips, Work on your rough narration. Josh, I loved how you said, hey, yeah, right now it's fine if it's 2 or 3 pages. It's clunky, but at least it gets the idea of the story and the tone down. And then we can, tweak it together so it sounds more trailer-like.
Yeah.
I thought that was important is, hey, put something on the page, then you can fix it. And not only that, but your editor is going to help you do that because, hello, he does this all day, every day, or she, so he's going to know much better wording on it than you are. So then creating your lookbook, start working on those production notes. So as we said, get your statements, get your Zoom interviews. So think creatively, what would I need later on? So I like this recording the table readings because you wouldn't normally think to do that necessarily, especially when you're not in the same room. So, hey, okay, write it down. Record the table readings that you're working on. Do the Zoom interviews with the cast. It could even just be, since you haven't shot, why they're excited about it, how they're preparing for it, what interested them in it, et cetera, et cetera. And then work on the creative brief for your key art and include, let me move this. So a list of the shots you're gonna need to complete. And what I liked about that, I was talking with somebody the other day, a producer friend, and I liked his point of, it's kind of like, okay, even if you don't end up using all of them, it's again, firming up your knowledge and your vision of your script. So, it's not time wasted to be doing these things right now, even if they aren't the finalized versions of things. I felt that was an important distinction. Do we have anything to add on that?
No, I'll say also, like, if you create your list of the shots that you're trying to get, also that may reduce the price of the unit photographer, because then they know what they are looking for and they are not going to be every day of shooting. So you can make it more efficient.
And I think in general, what was like a large concern for everyone in terms of the industry, like what are you going to be doing different with your production now that production has completely changed for the foreseeable future? So without going into it and the mindset of like, okay, this is a moment of pause before things go back to normal, it's not going back to normal. So what are you doing differently to get your project off the ground? Are you shooting in a location that now that production is now open? Or are you shooting in a country that production is now open where you can hire local cast, local crew, et cetera, et cetera? So on the next level, obviously, like what is going to incentivize someone to be involved in your project on the sales side or the distribution side, to ensure to them that like you're actually going to be able to get this off the ground. And that was a question for us on from the distributor side a lot, is just, when is this going to be shot? And like, are you just giving me a date? Like what are you doing to convince me that you're actually going into production on this date? Or you can.
Yeah. Okay, great. Things you don't necessarily think about from that creative point of view, because you're just thinking my project is brilliant. Here's the cultural relevance. La, 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 la. Look, everything makes money in this genre. So it's a sure bet. Well, okay, but how are you going to make that really happen? So I like how we're having to switch the hats like that to be able to talk with salespeople, to be able to talk with PR, to talk with editors, to talk with everybody else that you're going to need on your team to make this really come true. Okay, cool, everybody. We are so close to finished, which is both good and bad, because I know people are full, like that cartoon where you're doing the push and pull. I know what I meant. Brains are getting full, but we have so much to talk about. So ladies and gentlemen, alas, this is your final chance to ask questions. I've been doing my best to make sure we're getting the Q&A sorted. We are at that time of Finish it up, Jen. I'm getting the, wrap it up, team. So ladies and gentlemen, please be so kind. Dustin at this point is going to be putting in the chat box about taking our survey. Please take our survey, because Business of Creating, we need to get some sponsors so we can keep these events for you for free when we get back on, both online and in person. That's one of our goals. Let's make this knowledge universal and open to everybody, but we need some cash to keep it going. So we're going to go after some sponsors. So please fill in the survey, and which should be again in the chat section. I will have to find out if it is. Dustin, thank you for that. And check it out. We're going to be giving away 2 Final Draft downloads and 2 mobile Final Draft apps to randomly selected people that fill in the survey. So even more incentive to get you guys to do that. So ladies and gentlemen, let me see. I'm checking in here. Do we have it? Hang on. Okay. So here is our social handles. So please join us: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's also in our survey. And ladies and gentlemen, a huge shout out to the Writers Guild Foundation for making all of this come true. Thank you. Also shout out to Final Draft for generously donating our giveaways. And ladies and gentlemen, give it up please for our incredible panelists and their amazing information. Yay for Josh! Yay for Nuria! Yay Kalani! Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making this a fabulous afternoon, for helping me to learn so much. And, we'll be doing another one in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. Thank you, you guys. I can't wait to do part 2 with you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Jennifer, and everyone that came tonight.
Thank you, you guys. I just love that I get to spend my afternoon with you guys. Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.